everybody, I'm here today with a driving lesson on understeering when turning right and left. I'll be going over the basics of what understeering is, what is most likely the cause of understeering, and how to avoid understeering in the future. It's very simple. When people start to learn to drive, they oftentimes will understeer or oversteer. Understeering is basically when you steer too little for the turn that you're making. So if you're making a left or right hand turn and you steer for that turn and you realize that you have to all of a sudden steer a lot more before you hit the curb or drive onto the oncoming lane, whatever the case is, that is understeering. When you don't steer the wheel enough or you don't steer fast enough. It's as simple as that, okay? Now let's start driving, and I'm going to show you what the main cause, the most likely cause of understeering is. Now, most likely, when people are learning to drive and they're just starting to understeer, and hopefully the lighting in this video is okay, it's not the best, but the content, what I'm saying and what I'm showing you is super important, and I'm sure you'll be able to get the grasp of it through watching it and listening. So the most likely cause of understeering is when someone accelerates, pushes the gas pedal or releases the brake, and doesn't steer the wheel early on enough in that process. So let's say I'm gonna make a left-hand turn right here. Put my left signal on, and I'm a new driver. Let's say I'm a new driver. I'm just learning to drive. So I'm gonna wait till this car passes, obviously. I'm just learning to drive, but what we're gonna do is I'm gonna push the gas pedal and I'm gonna wait just a moment before I start steering. So I'm pushing the gas pedal and now I'm gonna steer, and oh, look at that, I understeered, and now I have to steer a little bit more to correct it. So I think I actually moved my camera. I'm just gonna pull over so I can fix the camera just for a quick moment. So one of the most important things to learn in order to avoid understeering is how to accelerate and steer pretty much simultaneously without too much of a delay in the steering. Now, this turn doesn't have a stop sign, so I'm just going to steer, but I'm going to steer too late. So I'm going to make a right turn. Let's say I should start steering now, but instead I steer. Now, look at that. I understeered. Now I have to just really crank that wheel to make that turn. And I kind of went into I encroached into the other lane very, very slightly. That's understeering in a nutshell. Now, one of the key ways to avoid understeering is to just absolutely make sure that you basically have to just start at a stop sign. You're gonna press the accelerator pedal and just like almost simultaneously you're gonna start steering. So this is what I should be doing to avoid understeering. I'm gonna make a right turn. I've come to a complete stop. I'm pressing the accelerator pedal and steering, holding the wheel, and now releasing just like that. That's how to avoid understeering, is to make sure that you are basically starting to steer at the right moment and you're steering enough. Because if you're just learning to drive and you don't turn the wheel enough, guess what? You're gonna understeer and you're gonna cause those problems, encroaching into the other lane, having to crank the wheel at the last second, all of those problems that I'm talking about. So another thing is, now I'm gonna make a left-hand turn and I'm gonna turn the wheel, but I'm not gonna turn the wheel enough. I'm gonna start at the right time, so I'm gonna start now, but I'm not gonna turn it enough. And look at that! I have to crank the wheel. You can actually hear the things in my trunk flying from one side to the other, because as I'm understeering, in order to not hit other vehicles and other things, I actually have to turn the wheel more. I have to crank the wheel. I have to just really steer at the last second. And you don't want to have to do that. So the two takeaways, the two key factors for understeering, to avoid understeering, are: make sure that you're starting the steering process, basically at the same time as when you start to accelerate. Basically, whether it's a couple of milliseconds before or after, doesn't really matter, to be honest with you, but basically the same time that you push that gas pedal, and release the brake pedal is the same time that you're gonna start steering. Just like this. I'm pressing the accelerator as I'm steering. Just like that. And the second key takeaway is to make sure that you are steering the wheel enough, you're turning the wheel enough. And the way to learn that is just to practice. If you're understeering, you really, for the most part, just have to practice driving and practice correcting that understeering. If you realize that you've made 5 turns in a row and most of them were understeering, you understeered for most of those 5 turns or 10 turns in a row, then guess what? You need to slow down, take your turn slower, and practice figuring out, number one, when to start turning that wheel, and number two, how much to turn the wheel, because those are the two key factors that will allow you to avoid understeering as much as possible. Now, is that to say that, you know, no experienced driver ever understeers? No, that would be a complete lie. A lot of experienced drivers, I would say most experienced drivers, understeer or oversteer at one point or another. So the key factor is just to practice. The more that you practice, the less often you will be understeering. And if you want to avoid understeering and sort of correct your understeering problem, if you have one, if you're watching this video and you're saying, wow, that's me, I'm understeering a lot, then the key factor is to make absolutely sure that you are practicing your turns, your right and left turns. And that's basically it. I really hope that you've enjoyed this video. If you liked the video, be sure to give it a thumbs up. Let me know what you think down below as a comment. And of course, be sure to subscribe for more great car and driving videos just like this one. And that's all I have for you today. Thanks for watching.